I don't know. I wouldn't say anything is new, but it's all exciting. Um, it's I'm excited about, quite frankly, the monotony of it all. Um, Business is boring, but good right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things are growing, executing.
Mm-hmm.
We are creating more success stories, intra-organizationally, but also in terms of our clients. Sat down with a happy client today for about an hour and was excited to hear the progress that the business owner is making in terms of the real estate interests that she has and the other verticals that she's building in. Um, it looks like a number of the workshops that have on deck in terms of the sales mastery piece, and then our regional slash B2B event that's taking place. People seem to be really excited about that. I mean, yeah, it's it's nothing new, and I'm glad for it. I'm not having to distract myself from issues related to the shiny object syndrome. I'm just laser focused on a couple verticals and making sure that we and our partners are winning. Um, so yeah. From that standpoint, it's all good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, what I've been thinking about over the last week or so, and then a conversation I had recently, kind of really um, had me more focused than usual on the issue or the challenge or the topic of personal and professional development. That's the thing that's on top of my mind right now. Um,
Mhm.
I spoke with a partner um, recently, and what the person said was like very disconcerting. Right, we were having a conversation about the book of the month and having a conversation about um, leveling up in terms of improving skills and knowledge and whatnot. And the person said, "You know what? I know that stuff's important, but I don't have time to do it."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I kind of sat back and paused. I was like, let me make sure I deliver this in a not a professional manner, but in a way that would resonate, right?
Hmm.
Given the person's circumstances. And, you know, my belief is, what I know is that entrepreneurship is a skill trade,
Hmm.
right? And it doesn't matter what you're doing. Entrepreneurship is a skill trade.
Hmm.
And if you're going to scale from a team of me to a team of we, personal and professional development, reading, becoming more knowledgeable, I told him, I said, you don't have time not to do that. You don't have time not to, and it's amazing because that wasn't like a one-off conversation. I have this conversation with entrepreneurs on a regular basis, right? About why it's so absolutely important to be constantly learning, be constantly reading. If reading per se is not your jam, at least downloading books on Audible. And, you know, I didn't get much pushback from some of the conversations I've had, but, you know, the question came up, well, why it's so important. So for me, that was flabbergasting. But
Well, it's
what,
it's shocking. It's because it's like maybe however the messages are being sent, the whoever the audience is not receiving them correctly.
mm,
To say that, like, well,
yeah,
why is it so important? Then obviously, um, you know, they're not making the connection on why it's not only important, but it's the matter of life and death. It's necessary. It's like breathing oxygen. Is
yes,
it's like your business's life's blood, pretty much. Self-development and professional development, professional growth. All of that is, um, yeah, it's like breathing air. So
yeah.
it's,
Mhm.
it's different.
What I tried to explain and the message I'm finally being able to kind of coalesce and bring together. is, you hear about these books about love languages. Everybody goes out and read, right? And what I want to communicate and what I did communicate is that there's a language to finance.
Mhm.
There's a language to leadership. There's a language to organizational development. There's a language um, to all these different things. And, I sat down with another entrepreneur yesterday, really excited, looking forward to working with her. She's involved in transactions that basically pale in comparison to what most people are doing. I mean, she manages more money than I do. And she is earning more than I am. That's what I gather just from my educated ears. And we were still able to connect and still able to find common ground and still able to work out a business relationship with each other. And I asked the person in particular to push back and said, why is it important? And I asked them, well, if you're sitting down in front of people who are more successful than you are, and I mean, this person, like I said, just landed a $10 million contract, you know what I mean? Like, and this is like par for the course. And I said, if you're sitting down with people like that and they're more successful than you, how are you going to get that person to respect you? How are you even going to be able to engage in a productive discussion where the person wants to do business with you and sees value in what you bring to the table? And when I said to her, when you're operating at that level, there are words like CAC, there are EBITDA, margin, right? If you're dealing with someone who's into investing, they understand what P&E ratios are, and they'll have conversations about that. If you're dealing with people in the real estate and construction and skilled trades, there's a language to that, right? When you start talking about the type of contracts and agreements, and so the reason why that person was willing to entertain a relationship is because I know the language. And I know the language because I'm constantly learning the language. I'm constantly reading, constantly consuming information, not so I can be a know-it-all, but so I can be useful, so I can be a value add no matter who I'm dealing with and interacting with. And I said, part of the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs fail to scale is in order, 9 times out of 10, the people that you are sitting across the table from, if they're earning 50K, you're going to earn 50K. If they're earning 100K, you're going to earn 100K. If you're dealing with clients that earn 500K, you're going to earn 500K, so on and so forth. I was like, you're never going to have the opportunity to have an audience with someone, let alone if you're able to do that, them take you seriously and want to do business with you and want to engage with you and build something if you can't speak the language, if you can't speak the language of success, right? Um, and it's amazing how, few people make that connection. A lot of times it'll be the same entrepreneurs who are pocket watching and comparing themselves to others, right? And they're
Mhm.
like, well, I'm doing the work. I'm setting the appointments. I'm giving presentations. I'm showing up at the networking events. Why don't, why am I not able to generate? Because what we say is you copy the right cats, right? And you'll have their success. But
Mhm.
something else that we need to have a conversation about is no, not necessarily copying the movements alone are enough. It's like you have two people chopping on a tree and you have 4 hours to chop on the tree. This is a question I pose. If you have 4 hours to chop on a tree and you have an axe, how many hours do you spend sharpening the axe? How many hours do you spend chopping on the tree? And the person responded, well, that's obvious. You spend 3 hours chopping on the tree and you spend an hour sharpening the saw, sharpening the axe. And I said, what I know about you from listening to you is you did not grow up around Southern folk. You didn't grow up around people who do that kind of work, right? And what I shared with her is, I grew up, during my formative years, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. And it was something that they taught me, right? Being Southern people, that they were. And one of the most important lessons they taught me was there were some trees in the backyard that needed removing. We had this axe. And I remember one day, one of my grandparents she didn't yell, but she was like, come over here. I got to talk to you right quick because you about to hurt yourself. And I'm like, what's going on? What do you mean? And she basically explained to me, both of them actually explained to me, that if you hit on this tree with that dull axe, what's going to end up happening is that axe is going to bounce off that tree and it's going to be one of your limbs that ends up getting chopped, right? Because you have to sharpen the saw or the axe first. Then you go chop on the tree, right? It's the same thing in entrepreneurship. If someone is doing the exact same thing that you're doing, but they're getting better results, 9 times out of 10, or 99.9% of the time, and more than that, they have a sharper axe.
Correct.
That's the issue. Their axe is sharper. They're more learned. They're more informed. They're more educated. They're more refined in their approach. And you have to be willing to do the exact same thing. It's like the conversations land different because they're speaking a different language. And they're able to identify with folks who are higher up the food chain, which is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You want to work with people who have big influence. You want to work with people who have a more affluent network. You want to work with people, or at least a more upperly mobile network. You want to work with people whereas when you build a relationship with them, it makes a difference, right? In your life and theirs. And you have to understand that this is par for the course. Like you said, it's just absolutely imperative. But once again, I know you're saying it's shocking, but my experience has been it's not that shocking. And I ask most of the business owners that I work with, not closely, but just people whom I come in contact with. And in particular, if they start talking to me about how they're not getting the results they want or expect in their business, one of the first questions I'll ask is, what's the last book you read? Or last documentary you watched? Or when's the
Mm-hmm.
last time you consumed something on Audible? When's the last time you actually took the time to become highly proficient at your trade, right? Become more knowledgeable, have a more in-depth understanding. And look, and I'm not talking to slouches. I mean, I am having conversations with people who are crushing it out here winning, but they're frustrated. And you ask them that question, 9 times out of 10, they haven't read a 300-page book since college or high school. And it was because they were forced to. I'm like, well, it's kind of part and parcel. I mean, you're comparing yourself to people who live, eat, and breathe this. I mean, I spend hours a day listening to podcasts, listening to books on Audible. And when I can sit still for a moment reading these books, whether it be on leadership, whether it be finance, organizational development, whether it be in operations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I'm constantly consuming information. And once again, I'm doing it. Yeah, I am doing it because I like to be more informed. Yep, I am doing it for myself. I like to be more informed. I feel better when I'm knowledgeable and able to have an intelligent conversation, regardless of the milieu or arena I walk into. But the other reason why I do it is, once again, when I get in front of people who have deeper pockets than me, more advanced than I am, more further along in their journey than I am, I want to be able to bring value to them. I want to know things they may not know, or at the very least, be able to have a conversation on a level playing field intellectually. So not only do I see what they do, but I understand why they do it, right? So if you can't tell, yeah, that has been top of mind. It's been igging me for like the last at least several days. Um, and it's kind of came to a head recently. Number one, because of the sit down I had yesterday where, once again, I'm sitting down in front of someone who is having way more success than I am, but still able to have a conversation where she was like, yeah, I want to partner with you. Let's go. Let's make this happen. Right. But also because of some of the recent conversations I had in contrast where, a lot of these individuals are sometimes getting in front of um, people who are crushing it, but they can't relate. They're not able to have a certain type of discussion. So important. So important. Um, because it's especially if you're going to scale. Like you have to learn how to lead people. That's skilled trade. You have to understand organizational development. That's skilled trade. You have to understand these things. Like people take for granted the people in our network, right? Particularly on that Sunday call. Like Peden, he's smiling and jovial and approachable. And if you're not careful, you'll sleep on him. He is very much financially literate, very much so. When you see some of these individuals within our like immediate network, like I just spoke to, Ms. Brown, um, tax and accounting professional for the last 10, 50 years. And we ain't talking about H&R Block where she's just using software where she's sitting down and can understand your financial situation and give you proper guidance. I mean, it takes a lot of acumen to do that. There are so many individuals like that. And if you are achieving in life, if you are very successful in life, um, 9 times out of 10, you have the acumen, or at the very least, you're surrounded with people who have it. Like I'm thinking about, I was so, I wouldn't say proud, but I was so happy when Shaquille O'Neal in particular talked about this several years ago, right? Where he was sitting down in certain rooms. Of course, he's bringing the capital, he's bringing the brand, he's bringing the recognition. But he spoke about being very uncomfortable with not understanding what was going on, what was being brokered, what was being negotiated. And the fact that he did not have to, but he went back to school. I forgot which degree or degrees he acquired, but he said he did that because he didn't want to be signing contracts and brokering deals and having conversations where he's just sitting back like a fly on the wall and other people are making these decisions for him. And it's not like he was trying to become elite or top tier because that takes time, but he wanted to have a basic understanding, right? And that, obviously, you look at him today, that has served him well versus other athletes who have earned the kind of money he's earned and they're catching the L's, right? Um, you have to be able to do these things. You have to be knowledgeable about certain things in order to scale, right? Um, and this is interesting. Like it's really something that I've been pondering long and hard. Like, how do we communicate the message more effectively that it's not something you do out of convenience. It's not something that um I'll hear people say, well, there's more than one way to skin a cat. You ain't skinning nothing if you're not informed. You're only going to get so far. You're going to start bumping your head. You're going to hit the ceiling. Right? That's just an excuse because you don't want to do the work that's required. But there's more than one way to do something. No, there are universal laws to this game that we're playing in an entrepreneur environment. And one of those laws is you need to be constantly learning. You need to be
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's that blueprint. The blueprint has already been laid for
Mm-hmm.
what it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur. And personal growth and self-development is part of that blueprint. And if you're not adhering to that blueprint, then like you said, you are going to be bumping your head because it's
Yeah.
required. I mean, if you're in rooms with people and they're talking about things that are beyond your level of comprehension or beyond your level of experience, yeah, it is up to you to make sure that you grab a hold of the skills and those tools that are gonna help you to level up and help you to understand those conversations that are being had. Because, like you said, all these people who are financially, in great situations taking L's, it's because they either didn't understand what was going on or they entered into deals that or opportunities that didn't serve them well, or maybe they didn't read the fine print, because there's a lot of charlatans and
Mm-hmm.
people who are basically preying on people and not who they say they are. So
Mm.
you do have to have a certain level of skill and discernment when you're moving in certain circles, whether you have $1 in your account or $10 million in your account. It's definitely there's a blueprint for success, and if you're not following it, you're definitely going to bump your head.
Yeah. You're going to get cleaved.
Yeah.
You're basically chopping on that tree with a dull axe, and it's going to rebound off that tree.
Mhm.
And the result is going to be hurt feelings, disappointment. You're going to expend. You're going to you're going to expend a lot of energy and be mad because you don't have any flow or momentum, no motion.
Hmm.
And entrepreneurship is the price you pay is so heavy. You gotta be willing to do the things that are required so you actually are able to benefit from the fruits of your labor, right? When we say the juice is worth the squeeze, you're going to get squeezed, but you have to do the things required that you get that sweet juice out of it.
Oh,
And a lot of people walking around, sipping on bitters because they're not willing to learn what they need to learn. Man, it's a problem. It's a problem. Um, I understand. I guess I can look at it from two sides of the table, right? I'm blessed and fortunate. I know I am privileged to have attended a University of Michigan, um, because I was able to see the journey of individuals who are going through the process of getting degrees and certifications and being able to put certain alphabets behind their name. And I'm not saying that that's enough, because if it was enough, all the professors would be multimillionaires, right? But certificates and degrees and a certain academic knowledge is required to do a lot of different things because it provides the guardrails. It helps you, if applied correctly, be able to ascertain when someone's blowing smoke up your ass, or if you're getting ready to make a decision that could jeopardize your business, your service, or your practice. It's one of the primary reasons why people, so amazing. Like in the community, I hear people talking about scam this, scam that, scam this, scam that. And the same people who spend the most time talking about scam get scammed the most. It's the same, the ones who actually talk about it the most, who are the most weary about it. A solid, legitimate opportunity will be sitting, standing, walking right by them, but they can't identify it because you don't have the acumen to pick a business opportunity or pick an investment apart and understand the remote pieces that come together to make the whole, because you haven't taken the time to educate yourself about it. But some charlatan, as you said, or some knucklehead or somebody who's up to no good can pitch something to you, and then based on emotion and muscle memory, intellectually, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, you'll fall for it every single time,
hmm.
right? Um, it's fascinating, right? It's fascinating just to see it. And I wouldn't call it disheartening, but it was definitely a frustrating interaction. Like I had to be really coquettish
Yeah.
with a couple of these interactions because it's like, I'm not calling you stupid. It's just, um, it's funny. Even my children get this, right? Because I was having a conversation with somebody else. It was like back to back conversations, 2, 3 days in a row, and even my children were cracking up. Because I was trying to explain that when you are new to entrepreneurship, not new to making sales, not new to hustling up money, not new. I mean, that has its own merit. That's an important part. Like you don't have a business if you're not making sales. Um, but when you are new to entrepreneurship, um, it's no different than a baby, right? You're not going to give a baby steak because they're not going to be able to manage it, right? You're not going to give a 2-month-old steak. Um, Oftentimes, entrepreneurs are taking on steak projects or endeavors before they have grown their teeth,
Yeah.
right? You're not ready to chew on this because you have not learned what you need to learn. There's something said to be jumping and for jumping and growing your wings, right? That's part of a lot of people's entrepreneur endeavor. You got to be courageous enough to put yourself in spaces where you may not know everything. You might be the weakest link, so you can learn what you need to learn, experience what you need to experience, and get pushed to grow in ways you need to grow. But at the same time, you cannot expect to have other people's success or results when you aren't willing to pay the price. And part of that price is your professional and personal development.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 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 So absolutely important. Like there's a couple people online getting roasted right now. I don't believe in hating on people. So you already know I'm not gonna ever hate on anyone publicly. Um, or pocket watch or sit up and critique people to death. But there's people right now who are catching L's because they were out here presenting themselves as experts and they didn't have the chops, right? They didn't have the chops.
Yeah, well, like you always say, time will either promote you or expose you.
Oh man, tell me about it.
Yeah, so that just, that's par for the course. If
Yeah.
you don't have the skill set and the personal development and professional development to back it up, then it will definitely be exposed eventually. What's in the dark always comes to the light, you know.
I'm trying to remember um where this quote comes from. I can't remember who made it popular, but I do remember who we were talking about years ago when everybody was sharing the same quote. I do remember who the person was. And it was like your talent will take you places that your character and your acumen can't keep you.
Yes.
Your talent will take you places. And when we say character and acumen, we're not always just simply talking about morally. We're talking about is there integrity to your game? Like, do you know your ish? Are you consistent? Um, are you predictable? Um, is there a real value prop there? Like it was actually one of your friends. I saw her this past Wednesday, and she was talking to me about how um, it was at 1 million cups in Cabizo,
Hmm.
and she was telling me about how she has this pressure or this consternation because people are always coming to her for information, and how she's always tempted to give it away for free. And you already know me, I give information for free all the time. I'm very altruistic with the experiences I've had and the knowledge I've acquired over the course of time. But all I had to remind her is you did pay for that. Like it's not free. That's not free game. You paid for it. You paid for the books. You took the classes. You acquired certifications. You spent the time in the compliance training. You spent time becoming knowledgeable. You just didn't go out and do it. Like you learned your craft. There's a price tag associated with that, right? Um, you know, a lot of my colleagues, my fellow Wolverines from the U of M, we paid for this knowledge. Some of us still paying for it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, no, it's not free. It's not free. Like you should not have the expectation that you're going to sit down in front of someone who paid such a hefty price to be as informed and knowledgeable and capable as they are and expect that they're going to give it to you all the time with no expectation or recompense, right? There's a reason why you invest in the expertise, the certificates, degrees, all these different things, right? And also, let's be real. I mean, it's just like the business owner I was talking about. You can give people all the information and insight in the world. If they are not developed enough to apply it, it doesn't matter. Knowledge is not power, right? Apply knowledge is power.
Yeah, being able to
Execution.
execute. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I guess this has been kind of like the theme of my week.
Well, I mean, I think it's a really relevant theme because we work with so many different kinds of people from so many different kinds of backgrounds
Hmm.
who are in various stages of entrepreneurship. We have people who are 20, 30-year veterans, and we have people who just jumped off the porch and everything in between.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different thought processes and people who, feel like they have, the formula for success or they've got the blueprint. And a lot of times these type of conversations are necessary so people can eat the fruit and spit out the seed. What applies and what you feel is going to serve you, you can apply. And maybe there might be some things that are controversial or they don't agree with, but later on they'll say, oh, you know what? I remember this person saying this to me. And I have found, through trial and error that what they said was true. And
Hmm.
that was correct information because sometimes people have to bump their head or maybe even take a few L's before they can see, like, okay, this was information that was provided to me, but I didn't apply it correctly or I didn't receive it correctly. Because some people listen not to absorb the information, but only to respond. They're not even really actively listening. They're just sitting there, like shaking their leg, like, oh, I want to respond. I want to hurry up and get my thought out. But it's like, are you really absorbing the information? Are you really listening? Because it's been my experience, because I've had many, many amazing mentors that, you may have educational smarts, whatever, you might have an MBA, PhD, whatever you have, a, undergrad. That's great because you're showing the world that you can complete a task. You can
Hmm.
start something and finish it. So you have that discipline. But that doesn't mean that you have life experience or common sense. And those are things that, if somebody's, let's just say, 80 years old and they're telling you, certain things that, you may not have experienced it, but the simple fact that this person is 80 years old and they've experienced certain things that you haven't experienced, like, in this situation, someone who's 80, they were born at a time where, especially if they're, not from the mainstream, they didn't even have civil rights when they were born, somebody who's 80 years old, so it's like their experiences and different things that they might tell you, like if it's someone who grew up down south or maybe someone whose ancestors or family members are from a different country, they've experienced certain things and seen certain things that you can't imagine because you haven't experienced it. But looking at it from their point of view, their experience, you can learn from it even though you may not have experienced it. So just off of that, they do know more than you because they've experienced more than you and they've lived through more than you and they've seen way more, eye-opening things, hardships, maybe even horrible things that you've never seen and never experienced. So of course they know more than you, So you definitely want to have an open mind to listen and to
Hmm.
um, be able to appreciate when people do think enough of you to share certain things with you because, a lot of times somebody might know something and like be a gatekeeper or just feel like they don't even want to waste the energy even having the conversation with you for whatever reason.
A lot of times that's what it is too. I don't think people understand that. It's like people throw that word gatekeeping around way too flippantly. They accuse people of gatekeeping when oftentimes no. Obviously, there are gatekeepers, but there are also people who are just they take inventory of you and they realize that they're going to be spilling their jewels among the swine.
Or just feel,
Right?
yeah,
You're not ready or you're not willing.
yeah.
I'm thinking about an entrepreneur that I met several months ago. It's so funny because I see him in some of the ecosystems I operate in. But I remember when I met him like it was yesterday. I approached him because I could see the hunger, even a little bit of rage in him. I like it when young men got some fire in the belly, right? That's when you get things done.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember he was so obtuse in his thinking and so closed minded and so determined to be right and make his point. And I remember I remember like yesterday, I made the decision after two, three conversations. I was like, you know what? I gotta let him cook. He's not ready because I'm not going to argue with you, right? You haven't. earn $1,000 in a year in your entrepreneur endeavor. You talking to someone that knows what it's like to earn $30,000 in a day, and you want to argue with me? Okay, you want to have this debate? All right. So I let them cook, and it wasn't that I was gatekeeping. It was just like you're just not ready. Like it was me trying to once again feed steak to a baby,
Hmm.
or telling him to go chop on a tree with a dull axe. The only thing you're going to do is get hurt, right? And now I see him now, and I haven't told him this, but I'm so proud of him because he's matured so much over the last several months. Um, Way more open minded, a lot calmer. It's like, I don't want the fire to die in you, but you got to know how to channel it, right? Um, Shows up differently. Like it's more of a person that is ready to receive, right?
Hmm.
And so I've been able to have different conversations with him now when I see him, that would have been impossible in the beginning.
Yeah, more receptive.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I mean, the way he was talking, it was like it was waking up stuff in me. I was like, man, there is an aggression behind my face that you don't want no parts of. Like, you just, don't let the smile and the suits and in the formal education fool you.
Of course.
It's like
Yeah. Hmm.
I remember that young man and I we got into it a couple times. I was like, dude, I will pick you up and drop you on top of your
And
neck.
body slam
Yeah, like
you.
I'm,
You'd be like,
I'm
what
like,
happened?
I'm from a different generation. We would fight. We were
Yeah.
not afraid of a fight. Um,
Go out in the
so
parking lot and figure it out.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
But that's what some people need sometimes. They really do because it's like the way that some people handle things and the way
Hmm.
that they are tactless and lack diplomacy is like, dude, like I don't
It's
know how you
it's it's
tell.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful because
Hmm.
I remember a conversation I had with a young lady trying to figure out how to say this because our ecosystem is so small. But I
Hmm.
remember I had a conversation with a lady. We were working on a project together, and it was an editorial project. And I remember there were certain business decisions that needed to be made. There were certain decisions that needed to be made in terms of the direction of the publication. And I was introducing her. She was a CEO, and I always respected that. Like, this is your company, this is your jam. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you can't have me around and I see something not being done correctly or an approach not being done correctly. And particularly in that situation, I was the one, of course, that was generating all the revenues. I was the one going out in the community, securing the favor of business owners, getting them to part their hard earned cash to invest in the publication and
I
put
knew it was
ads in
a
there.
publication company that you were talking about. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like the argument that ended it. I remember like it was once again like it was yesterday. And we're having a conversation about the editorial content, and we're talking about B2B content in particular. We're talking about business solutions content. We're talking
Right.
about sales and management and finance and whatnot. And she was just so vehemently arguing with me about it. And I finally stopped and said, look, I'm not trying to pull rank on you. You do know I've managed millionaires' money for a living. That's what I did, right? I know what it's like to have so much money in the savings account where the interest produces thousands of dollars. Like I'm that guy. You do know that, right? You do know that I've read every financial service, at least back then. I've read probably every financial services book you can think of, right? All the memoirs, all the autobiographies, all the technical assistance books. I was like, and I remember she looked at me. She says, "I don't care about your degrees and certifications, this, that, and the other." And I was like, we done. Like the lack of respect and regard. Um, what is it? I'm trying to figure out a way for it. I'm so fatigued. um,
Well, and the lack of
Anti-intellectualism.
yeah, the
That's what
lack
I would call it.
yeah, the lack of synergy,
Yeah.
anti-intellectualism. Yeah, absolutely.
That is killing business owners. It's absolutely killing them. Because you have to have it to scale. Like I said, you don't need to be that smart, and you don't need to be that educated or informed to make a sale, to earn money. I firmly believe you can build a six-figure, maybe even $1 million business and be very ignorant about a lot of different things. But when it's time to scale beyond that, where you're actually managing 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 people, when you are at a point where your financial decisions, like you have to be able to project 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years in advance, when you can't balance the checkbook or figure out your taxes on a legal pad anymore. If you are not willing to learn the things you need to learn, you're going to have to surround yourself with those people, and you got to have a healthy respect for them. Like you have to respect people's expertise, right?
Yeah, that's why
Um,
you bring them into that space. You
mhm,
know, that like that's why if like you said, when your business is scaling up, instead of having a tax preparer, you have now a CPA.
right. And
You're
even,
leveling up.
yeah, and even the CPAs get it wrong. Like, I was speaking with a business owner a couple of days ago. I was like, every entrepreneur and business owners has the same needs as Starbucks. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not at scale. But you need a tax and accounting professional. You need an attorney because they have different
Absolutely.
perspectives. They see your business differently. You need both perspectives.
Hmm.
You need a marketing and branding person. You must have that, particularly nowadays. Like this is not 2000. If you don't have an online presence, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, you're going to be non-existent with this generation that's coming up in particular. You have to have those things. If you are managing people, you have to bring in some HR expertise. You have to. Um, it's not that you don't understand people or you're not good with people, but there are rules, regulations, and things you need to have in place to protect your business from those people. And sometimes protect yourself because you can get too friendly with people and share information you shouldn't share or allow people to occupy a privileged space next to you that blurs the lines. And all of a sudden, you got a lawsuit. You have a misunderstanding, a conflict, right? I mean, those things are so absolutely necessary. This just ain't your granddad's economy. You can't do just handshake deals, you know? Um, it kind of reminds me of a person I'm dealing with right now on negotiating the price of a home. And a person wants to do a handshake deal. You know, lost your mind. You think I'm gonna introduce you to these wolves in the real estate space and we don't have a signed contract? No, no, no,
It's not how things
no.
work. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
not possible, and if
yeah,
you can't understand that, then maybe it's just not the right opportunity or the right time,
mhm,
you know,
yeah,
simple. So yeah.
mhm,
And I think too, like once you've made your bones and you've been in an entrepreneurial space and you've experienced, people not wanting to pay or,
mhm,
lawsuits and things like that, you really start to smarten up because you see how quickly, things can just be a black hole and it's not an income generating activity. It's just a drain on your resources and your time and you have zero to gain from it. So you want to make sure that you're making the right moves to try to avoid those type of things at all costs
mhm,
because all they do is end up making you lose time and resources that you can't get back. If you waste 10 hours of your time sifting through paperwork to prove that you did something you did because someone else doesn't want to pay or whatever the case may be, that's 10 hours of your life that you can't get back. You know,
yeah,
on top of the loss that you're sustaining financially because this person decided they don't want to pay or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
Um, so you
yeah,
have to make sure that you're protecting yourself and also using um the spirit of discernment too,
mhm,
when in doubt, don't. I think that that's One of the best pieces of advice that anyone ever gave to me, and I can remember the day that I got it and who gave it to me, and I still apply it to this day, and it
Mhm.
has served me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it in business, professionally, or personally,
yeah, yeah. Ignorance is like poverty. It's expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
The grocery store is more expensive in a poor neighborhood. The gas is more expensive in a poor neighborhood. A lot of things are more expensive. You actually pay more money being poor than you do when you actually become a person of means. Life is a lot less expensive
Hmm.
when you put yourself in a space when you become, and ignorance is the same way. Ignorance is expensive. It's expensive.
Yes, it costs you
Yeah.
money, resources, yeah.
Time.
It's
Time.
not a fun place to be. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Um, it's like, why would you dismiss a relationship or a conversation with someone that, especially when you're talking about entrepreneurship, certain conversations will save you not a couple months, but years.
Hmm.
Certain conversations will save you years of hardship and drama and failings that you don't have to unnecessarily that you'll go through unnecessarily if you're not willing to get that exposure. Um, so we're gonna talk about. I just texted Pete about this actually. I was like, you know what?
About him coming to the our marketplace.
Oh no, he's doing that. He's coming. Um, the conversation I want to have with him is, like I said, I've had plenty of these conversations, not just with people in our network, but outside of it. But it's particularly nauseating when it's people in our ecosystem. And it's like we really have to have that conversation. They say teams that spend time together, eat together, grow together. Or what, teams that learn together, grow together too.
Oh,
And we
absolutely.
need to have that conversation about why personal and professional development and investing in yourself is important. Because whether I of course wouldn't say it like this, but because when you don't, you become the dead weight.
Hmm.
You become the 80% that the 20% is carrying.
Or like the cancer and the organization that's like spreading like negativity.
Mhm.
Because if you're not growing, then and you see other people leveling up, then it's easy to, take on that type of
Yeah.
negative, you know.
Yeah. The advice, the person is not ready to receive it, like case in point.
Hmm.
But water always finds its level.
Yeah,
Water always finds its level. People are the same way.
for sure.
People always find their level. Like if you are attracted to people who just complain and do nothing and pontificate all day long and aren't willing to do the work, aren't willing to pay the price, that's your level. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. You have found your level, right? If you're around people who are execute, they achieve their goals, at least they're making progress every time you see them. There's growth there.
Hmm.
Um, and you're most comfortable around those kind of people
Hmm.
because you can't be around those people and not be the same. You found your level. And people are like water, they find their level.
I agree.
Um, and it's painful because you and I both know, and you don't have, like I said, you don't have to be particularly talented or intelligent to be successful as an entrepreneur. You don't. I mean, obviously, it helps a lot, um, but it's just the decisions and the type of company you keep and the distractions that you allow to derail you, right?
Mhm.
Um, any respect, yeah, we're about to have that conversation Sunday.
Well, it's necessary.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's necessary, I think.
Hmm.
So,
What you got next on deck? What's up?
catching up on some paperwork, following up with some people.
Okay. I'm gonna follow up with this HR person for you.
Okay.
If I can't hunt them down today, I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Um, I'm curious to know. I didn't have a chance to talk to the young lady that came to the luncheon. Um, I'm curious to know how it landed with her.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in that. And the gentleman that owns the restaurant, also in the mortgage origination industry, charged my head and not my heart. I can't remember his name.
Roberto.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he was impressive.
He is. I
Yes.
actually really like working with him because he's bilingual too, and he's
Hmm.
also an investor and has just done a lot of different things. And he's originally from the East Coast. He's got a lot to bring to the table.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, his insight, what he went through in Boston and seeing the growth that transpired afterwards. It's interesting to listen to him talk about Detroit through his eyes. Um, I think Detroit's having that same moment. Like a lot of these homes that people are buying, well, it's not too many good ones you can get for 50K. You got to search long and hard. But I mean, these homes that people are getting for 50 and 100K, it's going to be 500,000 homes. Some of these zip codes that we're dealing in.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, they're going to be 500,000 homes.
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't
Easily.
know, care what you got to do. Collect bottles, work 2 or 3 jobs, do what you have to do, but you got to participate now. Because he's right. It's going to be like Boston, where, you know, I was looking at homes in Grosse Pointe today and, just looking at the prices,
Yeah.
just looking at them. And buying a home out there, of course, is you're playing a different game when you buy a home out there as opposed to you're strictly you're playing an appreciation game.
Mhm.
Like most of those homes out there, you buy them, they're not going to cash flow, not like you think they are. It's an appreciation game. Um, and in Detroit right now, you can still acquire properties and cash flow, and there's still enough margin there where you can earn a decent amount of money flipping these homes or wholesaling them. But
Mhm.
I can see a time in the next decade where, yeah, a lot of these neighborhoods is going to be the same thing.
Absolutely. And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a lot of people who are lifelong renters, you know. Basically
Mm-hmm.
what it's going to be. Even now, a lot of people um, are just, I mean, for somebody who's a landlord or doing property management, I mean, that's a huge come up. But for the people who are, living it, it's like, wow, but there's a lot of people who just don't want to participate, you know, or just lack the education, lack the tools, and the
Mm-hmm.
desire to
Yeah.
participate,
Yeah.
especially in Detroit, because a lot of people have had bad experiences with like, tax assessment, people losing, their homes due to lack of participation, lack of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different things contributing to the deficit, you know. So
Yeah. It's
Detroit is a mecca because you have so many people flocking here, like in droves.
yeah, it's exciting, but it's also there's a part of me that's disturbed by it, right?
As
Um,
as you should be, as we
yeah,
all should be, because we're
yeah,
native Detroiters.
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to get in where you fit in. And a lot of people are not getting in where they fit in. They're just like standing on the curb waiting for the bus to come that's never going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sad part.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, applied knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can hear a million people saying a million things, but if it's going in one ear and out the other, or you're just not actively listening,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not doing any good. And that's happening a lot, you know. So, you know, it's
My
sad
goodness.
reality. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, enough of that. Enough of that. Good things.
Absolutely.
Good things. Growth. Good things. We're about to crush it over the next. I'm about to crush it all year long, but I'm really looking forward to the next 7 business days. Um, I think we're going to have an explosive event.